Nuts and fruit go perfect together. They're two separate parts of my meal matrix because they are two complete different whole foods. Fruit is full of sugar, nuts is full, well, and fiber and nutrients and everything like that. But nuts is also full of some good fats and proteins, and the two married together makes a perfect snack. Some of the things that I like to do with the nuts is I usually have some raw nuts on hand. These are raw shelled pistachios. I have raw cashews. I usually have raw pine nuts. I have seeds as well, but for now we're just gonna stick to the raw. You can make a trail mix. Now, trail mix, let's see what I got here to put in it. Trail mix is pretty simple. A lot of people have, I'm trying to find a nice word, overplayed trail mix, and they've added other things in there that really shouldn't be, like chocolate chips or candies, pretzels, Chex cereal, all kinds of other stuff. Now, that is an elaborate trail mix, but my basic whole foods recipe is nuts and dried fruit. Here in Florida, you don't want to put trail mix in your bag that has any kind of chocolate that's gonna melt. Maybe some cacao nibs would go good, or maybe some roasted almonds or roasted pistachios or cashews or anything, and you can season these sweet. You can also make them savory, so you could make them Cajun nuts or add rosemary or thyme and just make all kinds of different flavors. Walnuts are great when they're roasted. It makes a completely different flavor palette. So when you add some roasted, some raw, and some dried fruit, you're making a great snack to take for the midday, to take on a trip, especially a car ride. They travel well and usually get you through, if you want, until the next meal, if you just need a little snack. One of the things that you can do is do a roasted nut. Now, some people use a method of beating an egg white, and that's fine, but I really don't have a whole lot of nuts here, so I don't want to waste a whole egg to do that. So what I think I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to experiment a little bit. I'm going to take some of my nuts. Again, this is just a snack for me. If you want to make a sweet roasted nut to add to the mix, maybe you don't want as much sweet. Sometimes cranberries can be sweetened. So much sweet flavors to it, so you want to sweeten your nuts a little bit. You can add, let's add a little honey and cinnamon. My honey was accidentally put in the fridge, so I don't know if it's going to come out for me. Let's see, we'll work on that. We'll add some, I wonder if some lemon would go. Let's see if the citrus flavor adds well to it. Take a little bit of, just a little. You want to coat ever so slightly the fruit and the nuts, whatever you're roasting, so that the other seasons can stick to them. I'm a firm believer that there's never enough cinnamon, so whenever I use cinnamon, it might be too much for you. You might not want to go with my portions. Just a little bit of coconut sugar, just to coat them. You might not even need honey on these. Let's just see how they coat up. We're going to turn the oven on low, like a 300, and roast them up for about, we're going to play with it. You're going to know and you're going to smell it when they're done. Just top them off with a little bit of sugar. Pop them in the oven. Another thing you can do is make a nut pesto. When we make pestos before, we use nuts, greens, garlic. You can add some lemon, you can add some salt, pepper, you can add some other flavors to it, nutritional yeast if you wanted to make it a little bit of a cheesy flavor. You can add cayenne or pepper and make it a peppery. You can do whatever you want, and any nut usually works. So what I'm going to do now is take the rest of my almonds and make a peach pesto, and you can add some sweetener like honey, you can add some cinnamon. This makes a great topping for an oatmeal in the morning if you want to sweeten up a porridge, or turn a quinoa into a sweet porridge, or it's a great little snack. I'm sure there's other things that you could think to put a fruit pesto on. You probably could even put it on like a piece of salmon. I know I've seen a lot of mango salsas that go on fish. I think this would be the same thing. It's just not quite as diced. Pesto is just more ground up. So let me get some things. I'm going to peel a peach. It's pretty ripe, and I don't want the skins in the pesto getting in the way. You can eat peach skin if you're roasting your peach. You can always leave those on. Really nice. There is a seed in the center. I usually just rotate my knife, break everything open, and then pull the fruit off of the seed. If you need to do it again, you can even keep slicing it and just wiggle these pieces off. So put some peach in there. One thing that you're going to want to find, something, maybe some orange juice. If you have some fresh squeezed orange juice, maybe you don't want so much of the lemon. But you're going to need a little bit of liquid to help chew everybody up here. Make a nice paste. Let's see, what else do we want to add in? Add a little, let's add some honey. Now that it's down here. Honey will sweeten everybody up. You can add some cinnamon. Of course, I put cinnamon on everything. Cinnamon and sugar and honey, just it naturally goes together. Let's see, I don't have that much liquid in here. Let's see what the natural juice in the fruit does. Now, if you wanted to make it by hand, you could just use one of these choppers, and you could just pulverize it and make it almost like a salsa, tapenade, just chunky flavors, chunky sizes, but you're still going to get the same flavor. Now this worked out just like I hoped. The fruit is pretty wet, it's pretty soft all by itself, so you don't need a whole lot of added liquid, just a little bit of that lemon juice. And as you saw, I barely put any in. Now some of these almond chunks are pretty big, so you might want to process it through again, but let's get a taste. It's really good. It's got a really different taste. You can always vary the fruit that you put in. You can put in maybe an apple or add more nuts. However you want to do it, you can make a really good fruit pesto. And you can add this to anything, especially those greens. And this also is a great thing to do when your fruit starts getting soft and it's not as good to eat as just a whole piece. Fruit and nuts, perfect snack.